the speaker boxes on too, these guys?
There we go. Good evening and welcome to the February 6, 2025 meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Calabasas. The meeting is called to order, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Leah to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. We have a full complement of commissioners tonight, and we will get to our newest member in a moment. But first, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it, but I would like to make sure that we do adjourn our meeting this evening in the memory and the honor of Marvin Lopata, one of our founding council members and the third mayor of the city of Calabasas. And his memorial or celebration of life was on Sunday, and a lot of folks came out to wish him well and on his journey.
Okay, absolutely. We will do that. Okay.
Aye.
All in favor of approving the agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Okay, I normally don't participate much in the announcements and introductions. However, tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. And before the introduction, I do want to recognize our outgoing alternate commissioner who has spent years contributing to this city and to this commission. He was an incredibly valuable member of the commission and our unofficial wordsmith. So he will be missed. It is my understanding that the City Council will, at their February 26th meeting, be honoring John. I'm, of course, talking about John Mueller. So, in any case, turning the page, I do want to welcome our newest member, Candace Steiner. Welcome. We're looking forward to working with you, and I'm kind of excited because I've been on this commission for something over 10 years now, and you were the first woman to be sitting on the commission with me, so I'm so excited.
You guys are taking over.
It's just the beginning. Okay, well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Okay. Anyone have any announcements or introductions? No? Bob? Nope. Nope.
Just one thing that's on in our minutes from last time. It is now all right to use power leaf blowers outside of the perimeters of the Eaton and Palisades fires. So that means, I think most of us, everyone in Calabasas could.
Thank you for letting us know. It's the kind of thing that I think not everybody knows. So thank you. Okay. Time for public comment. This is the portion of the meeting for anyone who wishes to address the commission on matters that are not on the agenda. Let me take a quick look at this. That's item 4, item 4, item I have only speaker cards for an agenda item. Do we have anyone?
Por la fe.
No other speaker cards.
Oh, Jesus, that's heavy.
Okay. All right. It is time for item number 1, which is the Planning Commission reorganization. This is when the commission will select a new chair and vice chair. And if I remember correctly, we deal with these separately. First the chair and then the vice chair, correct?
That's up to you, but it makes it an easier record.
Yeah, I think that that is what we will do. So do we have a motion? Do we have anyone who would like to,
I'd like to make a nomination.
make a nomination?
Okay, I'd like to ask you to continue as our chair for another term. So I put your name on the table for selection as our chairperson for the next term.
And I second that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So we vote on that, correct, before, I think appropriate to vote for, against, and this, I believe, needs to be done by roll call? Okay.
Yes.
I
Well, you could ask for other nominations if there are any.
I guess we could do that, as opposed to
And if there's nobody, then we
being-
can elect you
being
by acclaim.
bizarre. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay. Commissioner Hazena,
You've earned my vote, Madam Chair.
thank you. I appreciate that. Commissioner Leah?
Aye.
Yes, I made the motion.
Commissioner Washburn? Commissioner Harrison?
Yes?
And I guess it wouldn't look too good if I didn't vote for myself, so I guess I'm a yes.
Did you forget Commissioner Steiner?
Does the alternate vote, we have a full complement of commissioners, so I believe, nothing personal, when we are all here, the vote is just the 5 commissioners, so,
So-
all right.
So you're our new chair.
Well, thank you very
And I have a
much.
question of our attorney.
Yes.
For nominations, it's my understanding that all 6 of the commissioners, including the alternate, are capable of doing that, but they can't all vote. Is that correct, or am I missing something?
My understanding is that the alternate can participate and comment, but not vote. So if
Yeah.
the alternate has a recommendation, they can make that recommendation.
So Candace, we don't want to cut you out, but now you know the rules. So next time,
Okay. And now turning to the vice chair, I would like to nominate Commissioner Hazena. A little bit of newer blood, yeah,
and again, I don't think a second is needed, but I will second that motion.
okay. Are there any other nominations? Nope. Okay. Then, again, by roll call, Commissioner Harrison,
Aye, yes?
and I am an aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Washburn, Commissioner Leah,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hazena.
Aye, and thank you to all of you. Truly, thank you.
Absolutely.
And now you have to earn it.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think in his time on the commission, he has earned it. And periodically, it is time for a little bit of newer blood. And so congratulations. You were the vice chair. That means I can go on vacation all the time
Not too
and know
soon.
that things are in good hands.
Not too soon, please. Thank you again.
All right, let's move on. Now, we have a little bit different procedure on the consent calendar. There's been a bit of a change from how we have been doing things. And basically, all items on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion. However, I am going to ask, the two items on the consent calendar are the minutes from the meeting of January 16th and the adoption of Resolution 2025-804. So what I'd like to do is, if anyone has any changes, corrections, discussion about either one of those items, then we will remove, remove that item from the consent calendar. Otherwise, the motion is going to be to approve both items that are on the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Well, I would like to discuss the minutes. I think that I would like to change something in the minutes.
All right,
So-
then let's remove the minutes from the consent calendar. And let's go ahead and discuss, let's move on to the other item on the consent calendar, which is the adoption of Resolution 2025-804. That was the sign program. Do we have a motion on that?
Well, I moved the consent agenda, and we removed an item from the consent agenda, so
Right.
Michael gets to talk about that, or anybody else, but the other one is already moved.
So I'll second the other one then.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. The consent calendar is approved, and that is the approval of that resolution. So let's go to the minutes of the meeting of January 16th. Commissioner
It's-
Harrison.
Thanks. It's just about what I said here, under announcements and introductions. I didn't discuss a temporary prohibition, really. I announced that there is a temporary prohibition of leaf blowers. That's the only word that I'd like changed. It should say Vice Chair Harrison announced that there is a temporary prohibition of leaf blowers at this time,
Okay.
et cetera. It wasn't a discussion, you know.
Got it.
With that change, do you want to move them?
Yes, with that change, I would move to approve
Okay.
those
I'll
minutes.
second the minutes approval.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved as amended.
And can I ask a favor of the commissioners and anybody who has a microphone, if you would speak into the microphones for me, because a little hard of hearing, so I want to just make sure that I don't miss any of the comments that are being made.
All right. Let's move on to our public hearing item. That's item number 4. That's file number SPR 2024-010. It's a request for site plan review to demolish an existing 3,629 square foot single-family home and construct, we'll discuss this later, but a 7,387 square foot single-family home on the existing site. Subject site is located at 23935 Park Belmonte, within the residential single-family zoning district. We have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Vesper.
Yes.
There we go. Good evening, Commissioners. First, I want to mention that this project was noticed to all property owners within 500 square feet of the subject site. The notice was also posted on the city's website and throughout the city at all required locations. Staff did receive 2 items of public correspondence that has been distributed to the Commissioners ahead of the meeting. There was also one neighbor who requested the project plans, however, they did not provide any comments. Secondly, I also want to apologize to the Commissioners for a few inconsistencies and typos in the staff report. there were a few numbers that were incorrect. To confirm, the lot size is 15,489 square feet, and the main house is proposed to be 6,910 square feet with a 477 square foot garage. Additionally, on the third page of the staff report, you may have caught this, the correct side yard setback per the municipal code is 10 feet and not 15 feet. Just wanted to mention that just to inform you all of those typos. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I saw that in the documentation, that's in the packet, that there were 4 different mentions of the square footage, and
Yes.
you just made a correction on the one. The 7387 was the number that was used by the ARP to make their evaluation, but I saw that there was a 7224 mentioned, a 6827 mentioned, and a 6910 mentioned. And is that what you were trying to clarify when you were making your comments just now?
Thank you, Commissioner Washburn. So you're not talking about just specifically the staff report, but other exhibit items?
The whole packet on this particular item.
Actually, it is, I saw them all in the staff report. Let's just deal with it right
It's
now.
not- I'm
What
not
is the square
I'm not
foot?
complaining, but the
Yeah.
official number is 7387?
Is that the correct
That's,
number?
that's correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
That
Just-
was my question.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to clarify, that the 73, or what's that number, 7,300?
7,387 is including the garage.
That includes the garage. So the habitable square footage is the 6,910 square feet, right?
Yes, that's correct. And what I'm correcting is the development standards on page 9 of the staff report. And so that's what I wanted to correct, is that number there.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Washburn.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So moving on here, here's the project location slide. The site is located within the Calais Park Homeowners Association and the residential single-family zoning district. The property is located towards the end of Park Belmonte. Slightly further south, going up the hill, is a water tower, not shown in this image. To the south and north are other single-family residences, and to the east and west are HOA-owned undeveloped open space parcels. This image here relates to the line of sight exhibit as Exhibit E in the packet to show how this section of Park Belmonte is steeply sloping, and therefore homes in this neighborhood are situated on a series of terraced building pads with each consecutive pad and therefore homes sitting above or below the adjacent one. This image here relates to the previous slide I showed that shows how the parcel it shows that terrace scale from the previous slide, but just in an image form. So you can see how that Park Belmonte Street essentially is a downward slope on a hill there. This slide here is just a few photos of the existing one-story house and then the landscaping along the front yard. So as mentioned, the project proposal includes demolishing an existing one-story, 3,629 square foot home and constructing a new two-story, 7,387 square foot home that is including the garage. So excluding the garage, 6,910 square feet. The request also includes proposed site improvements that include a new swimming pool, retaining walls, landscaping, and hardscape. The Calabasas Municipal Code, Section 17.62020, requires that construction of a new single-family home be reviewed by the Planning Commission. This is the site plan. This shows new pervious pavers, hardscaping, some new retaining walls, and of course the new two-story single-family home. There are also 2 decks located in the hash marked areas. Also shown is the 2-car garage and storage room and a pool in the rear yard. The proposed project complies with all required development standards for the RS zone, including setbacks, pervious surface, site coverage, and height. Proposed front setback is 25 feet. The north side setback, is 35 feet 6 inches. the south side being 13 feet 4 inches, and the rear setback being 21 feet and 10 inches. The proposed site coverage is 30.9%, and the pervious surface percentage is 66%. The applicant is proposing to keep some existing landscaping along the east and south sides of the property and add several proposed palm trees to the north and west sides of the property. Also proposed on the north side of the property is new planters and some new turf, as could be seen in the site plan. This is the proposed first floor plan. That is 4,798.5 square feet. That does include the garage, and that is measured from exterior wall to wall. This is the proposed second floor plan. That is 2,588.6 square feet. This also includes the atrium. Once again, this is measured from exterior wall to wall. Moving on to the proposed elevations. As shown on the elevations, the maximum height of the house is 31 feet, measured from the grade of the garage to the top of the roof. However, I do want to notate the distinction that the height from the main structure from the bottom of the grade to the top of the roof is 29 feet 4 inches, as shown in the north and south elevations, just because that garage is slightly grade, 2 inches below grade, for example. And so you can notate on the elevations, you can see 29 feet 4 inches, and then you can see from the garage that it's measured at 31. I just wanted to notate that distinction so you can see if you're wondering why there are different height measurements on there. And once again, this is the south and west elevation as briefly described a second ago. Moving on to the proposed renderings, this is the front of the house, looking at it from the east side as well as the rear of the house, excuse the typo, from the west. This is the north elevation and then the south elevation. And so these are what would be the side yards of the home. I know it's a bit different just because, for example, the pool here, I'll go back a slide, is located in the rear. That is the west side of the home. This is the color materials slide. This slide shows the proposed color materials for the new residence. The applicant did take into consideration the ARP's recommendation to not use a strong white color and instead opted for this oatmeal stucco color with the El Dorado stone that is along all the first floor elevations, except for the south elevation, which uses just that stucco finish. Also proposed for the roofs are standing seam sheet black metal roof panels, complemented with that jet black aluminum windows and doors. The ARP did review this project on November 22nd, 2024. They found that the proposed project is compatible with the aesthetics of the surrounding neighborhood and recommended approval of the project. They did also provide several suggestions, those being wider columns for the garage entrance, a roof pitch to the entry element of the roof, the consideration of adding more windows to the north elevation to provide for better natural light. The plans were updated to take into consideration the ARP suggestions. More windows were added to that north elevation. And as mentioned before, that stucco color was altered to that oatmeal color from a previous more kind of white color that existed on the previous set of plans. Also included in the packet is an exhibit of the HOA's approval of the proposed design and project. This slide shows home comparisons for home sizes in the proximity range. This information comes from the home comparison table within the technical appendix of the staff report, which looks at homes within 500 feet radius of the subject site. And the data comes from the LA County Assessor and does not include garages, just to make sure that distinction is importantly noted. There are surrounding, the next slide, excuse me, I'll show some homes on the street. There are a mix of 1- and 2-story residences and also a mix of architectural styles as well on Park Belmonte. And so as here you can see, Shown here is the neighboring homes, 2 parcels above and below the subject property, just to give an idea of some of the architectural styles, as well as there are some 1 and 2 stories, so a bit of a variety there. This slide shows the findings as codified in the Calabasas Municipal Code. The findings exhibit from the applicant, and the packet includes written answers in accordance with these questions. Staff thus has concluded that the proposed project is allowed in the zoning district, conforms to all development standards. However, it should be noted that the home is not within the neighborhood size range. It is approximately 1,143 square feet larger than the current largest home in the area. I do want to notate, though, on Park Colombo, it's a side street of Park Sienna, approximately about 1,000 square feet. There are homes that are larger than 6,000 square feet. That are, once again, outside that 500 square foot radius, but about 1,000 square feet approximately. Lastly, the ARP recommended approval of the project, and the project is exempt from CEQA. And with that, staff is prepared to assist the commission in developing the findings for approval or denial as required. And thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Joel. Can you go back to slide 17? You said that these represent both 1 and 2-story homes immediately contiguous or within two homes. They all appear to me to have at least some 2-story element to them. Am I missing something?
In the bottom left-hand corner, I believe that home is 1 story, but I might be mistaken.
Okay, because I see windows, I see a lower floor window and I see an upper floor window, so I'm just, okay.
It does look like a 2-story, but the subject site is actually a 1-story home.
And that's, thank you for the distinction. That's what I meant to say, is the subject home is 1 story, the other remaining homes, surrounding homes, excuse me, are 2-story.
Okay, and you may have just answered the question, but if you go to slide 2, do you know if any of the homes on that before the U-turn going down, that section of homes up there, do you know if any of those are 1 story other than the subject site? Do you happen to know?
The segment of Park by Monte we're looking at, I believe, had, in addition to this site, 1 other home that's 1 story. All the other ones were 2-story.
Okay, thank you. All right. Before I open the public hearing, do we have any questions of staff? No?
I do.
Go ahead.
I do.
Commissioner Lee.
On the written report, page 3, second paragraph, did any numbers change? You mentioned some typos. Were there any typos in that paragraph?
Yes, Commissioner Leah, thank you. On the 3rd page of the 2nd paragraph, excuse me, speaking from Mike here, the side setback is 10 feet and not 15 feet. That was a typo.
Ah, okay, that's what I missed when you were going for it.
Thank you.
Okay, now, I'd like to clear up some confusion in my mind and perhaps to other people's mind. In reading the report, it said the application was deemed complete on 1/29. Is that correct?
That was the most recent submitted plans that were submitted to me. That's correct.
Okay. And the packets were delivered to the public and to the commission on 1/29.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Yeah, the plans, thank you, Commissioner Leah. The plans were updated. I received them in the morning. There were some minor revisions being made last minute, and the application was thereafter complete, and then we sent out the
All right,
notice.
so then why is the report dated February 6th?
That's the date of the meeting. That's today.
But that's not the day of the report. The report was issued on the 29th to the commission and I presume to the public.
You're referring, Commissioner Leah, to the date at the top of the report, which, under
Yes.
under the formatting requirements that our city clerk is trying to get an alignment for all commissions and the city council, the date of the meeting is supposed to be at the end, at the top of the report there, and that's what this is. It's the date of the meeting.
Yeah, it
As
raises
opposed to
questions
the, as
about-
opposed to the date of the report.
Yeah.
Correct. The format no longer includes the date that the report was finalized and prepared.
That's not logical, the way it's being done, because we know it's wrong tonight, but down the road, someone looking at it would not know this legerdemain took place. And I think it's something you need to address prospectively.
I believe what happened was the application itself was deemed complete in the sense that all necessary documents were submitted. However, through, and it's not uncommon, through writing the report, there may have been a couple technicalities that needed to be corrected. So the plans were resubmitted, and that's what the January 29th date reflects. Small technicalities, nothing substantial, but just to make sure that the plans were completely corrected.
Okay. I will comment on the attachments. The letters, they were illegible.
Yeah, I was going to say, could you read them?
Yeah, they're illegible.
You need a
How
microscope.
can you put out information that's illegible?
Maybe that's the new format.
It may be. They may,
Commissioner Lee, are you referring to Exhibit G?
I'm referring to the letters from a number of people.
Yeah, in the past, they were always legible. These are not legible.
I mean, I did my Sherlock Holmes Act, and I still could not read some of the stuff.
Unless there was a printing issue. I mean, the attachment that I'm looking at is legible. It's smaller print than normal because it's a copy of an email that was sent, but it is legible.
No, this is much smaller than we've ever had before. So I'm not sure if this is your new format, or if you can make it like before where you could read it like a regular email. That would be helpful for the public as well as the commissioners.
Yeah, the copying equipment, you can enlarge type that's small, and certainly it was warranted in the case of these letters. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Did
We
you want to
can
comment?
also try and run new copies so that it's larger printed.
Well, do you mean now?
Well,
Well,
unless we're going
is
to
that net-
defer, carry the meeting over to another meeting.
Well, no, they're offering to try to make it larger and get it to us. Were you able to, although difficult, because it's smaller print, were you able to actually,
For the most
Read
part,
them?
but
Okay.
in small batches, you
Tom,
couldn't
not
read the thing.
necessary. Not necessary. So you were able, it's not necessary to reprint them now, is that correct?
That's correct. We'll see
Okay.
what- hopefully the people are here and they can expound on
Yeah.
there.
Maybe a question about whether any of the letter writers are here to speak.
Yeah, I believe they are.
Might be better just to question them directly if they're here.
Yeah, we do not have Henry Tashman.
But just for the record, to have something that's readable would be good, so that everybody could, anybody looking at it could read it.
And we
I
have
have a-
David Stern, not Joanne Stern.
Well, 3 of the pages in our packet are from Mr. Tashman, so if that's
Yeah,
illegible to anybody, then
well,
if he's here, we can
no,
hear from
he's
him.
not, I
Okay.
don't have a card from him. I do have a card from David Stern,
Right.
so, which is the other, Joanne and David Stern are the other email. But I believe Commissioner Leah said that he, although difficult, was able to make it out. Although moving forward, perhaps, if these can be done in larger print for the commission, that would be good.
And the people.
Thank you.
I even went
And the peop-
online to see if
the same.
it was more legible. It was not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did too.
And given that a number of the letters were concerned about loss of view, I think it's important that that information be clearly seen.
I don't know that we want to get into this right now, but in the city,
Yeah, and we can
Alright.
also certainly post an updated version of these that are larger. So
Okay.
the final packet that stays on the website will have clearer, well,
okay.
they're clear, but just,
They're clear.
it'll be
yeah.
printed in a larger text
Okay,
or larger font.
all right, thank you.
And these are new glasses. They're not old ones.
All right, fair enough. Commissioner Washburn, you have anything before I open the public hearing? Okay. Commissioner Harrison?
Well, I don't,
We're going down the line.
got it. Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
Yes, I have a question for council. You know, several homes on that side of Park Belmonte have seen slippage in the back of their backyards. And and I know this because the city has asked Calabasas Hills Community Association, which is the HOA I live in, to repair slopes, which is quite expensive, even though our HOA had nothing to do with the slippage. And looking at this slide too, you'll see that there's a strip of land, a parcel to the immediate west of this parcel, and I believe that's CPHA. And then to the left or to the west of that, going down the hill to Parkway Calabasas, that's owned by Calabasas Hills Community Association. And I'm going to talk about this later. This has to do with the, regarding the pool, but can the city condition the pool on an indemnification agreement that runs with the land somehow, requiring the owner to indemnify and hold harmless both the city and the tracts to the west as well as its neighbors? Is there a way to, is that legal? Because they're proposing, and I'm going to talk about this later, they're proposing to build a pool right near the boundary at the west side, which may slip down the hill or cause slippage, which we've already had on that slope.
Commissioner Harrison, the liability to the city, where are you seeing the liability to the city?
The city has entered into it and has demanded that our HOA repair the slope, and I'm not sure why the city is involved, but it is. And you may not be familiar with it because it's from before, but you came here.
Right. But you want the property owner to indemnify and defend the city
And the parcel owners next to it.
for any damages related to the construction of the pool.
Correct. Because it's in the back of a filled slope. I mean, this slope, the back of the property is filled. It's not natural. And they're proposing to put a pool 6 feet away from the line. I mean, I'll talk about that later, which is clearly heavy. And I know some people think there's an engineering solution for everything, but there isn't, because there's been slippage on that slope. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to do that,
So,
to make that property owner, whoever it is, liable.
so first of all, I believe the conditions already include an indemnification clause that protects the city from any claims arising out of the city's approval of this project. So I think we already have indemnification.
So the city is indemnified, but
Right.
not the neighboring property owners?
Neighboring property owners, that's correct. As to that issue, I would have to do research to determine whether or not there would be a nexus for us to require the property owner to indemnify neighboring property owners for unknown claims at this point in time.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Before I open the public hearing, I just, out of an abundance of caution here, I just want to make clear and confirm that this project, that the home is 6,910 square feet, and the garage is 477 square feet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so There are actually several places in the agenda report where those numbers, there are about 4 different numbers used throughout the report. So we are going to proceed based upon the assumption that whatever the numbers are in the rest of the report, the actual numbers are 6,910 square feet and 477 square feet. Okay?
And we can probably confirm that in the, either the findings or the conditions at the end of our discussion too, I think.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure that we're very clear that we are proceeding based upon that, not on any of the other numbers that may be contained in the agenda report. And just for reference, page 3, I lost my marking for there was one other page, and then there is page 9 and page 10, which you mentioned one of them. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to open the public hearing. I have a speaker card from David Litt. Would you like to be heard? Please come up, state your name and city of residence.
Hello, Commission. I've been a resident of Calabasas for 23 years, and I actually served on this commission for 4.5 years and still don't know anything about planning, but I got through it. Candace, welcome. I've heard your name throughout the city, and so I think you're a major addition to this group, and it's nice to see the diversity, and I'm sure you're qualified, so no more DEI. I just want to show you slide 2. Where you see that, it says project location, and then you see that red arrow going through it, that's my home. So I live right above the old Countrywide site. I probably have the best view in Calabasas. I've been told that by multiple people and city officials when I did remodeling. And I'm a 1-story, 5,600 square feet. I have always been told that I am the only 1-story in Calabasas, classic Calabasas, and that's related to Zone 7. Classic Calabasas is really called Calabasas Park HOA. That's another discussion for another time. But what I find, not to criticize the planner, but I just don't understand why there isn't factual information when you're talking about a next-door neighbor and you're thinking, I think it is, I'm not sure, it may be, and I'm sitting there and I can't talk. So I just wanted to say that. This property does not affect me because it goes up the beautiful hill, which a lot of people walk that hill. If you're a walker in the city of Calabasas, you have walked that hill. It's the steepest hill in Calabasas. A couple other things just to note. 67 square feet, I don't know where that is. I would love to know what address that property is. Park Colombo, I believe, is in a gated community. That is not in the park. That's apples and oranges. Just an FYI. I have 27% increase over the purported largest house in Calabasas Park, which I think my house is the purported largest house in Calabasas Park at 5,600 square feet. I have no reason not to support Mr. and Mrs. Simpson in approval, but I ask you, as the stewards of the city, to make sure that this qualifies. When I was on the commission, we would have long discussions about 27% increase over the largest, or, pervious surfaces, and this being a 15,000 square foot lot, no way. The pad is not, the lot might be 15,000 square feet and may go over, Michael, the purported area that is owned by Calabasas Hills, which a good appraiser always states, or maybe a city planner would state, the pad is X and the lot is X, and the hillside really doesn't add anything to the property. So we're really talking about a small lot with a lot of property. I don't know, I guess it's CEQA, is that still in place, CEQA, with the Environmental Act and all that? Hopefully those are going to be tamed a little by the federal government, but I don't know if it qualifies for CEQA and all that stuff, but I was taken back when I saw it. I said, demo of 3,600 square feet, so of course I walk it by all the time. I know the property. Again, I have no reason to oppose it as long as you folks believe that it hits all the pegs are all right. You know, when I did my home, I bought my home in 2001. I had actually an adverse possession lawsuit against CPHA, and instead I negotiated with them for 3 years. Just an FYI, Michael, if you take my property to the east is Old Calabasas Park, so halfway through my property, my pool was located half on CPHA and half on Calabasas Hills. Where Mr. Simpson's property is, it's a 100-acre parcel that goes all the way to Calabasas Hills, maintained by the zone, and I have tried to get Shirley and Calabasas Hills to maintain, and I've been told if I want, I can maintain it. So I'm not sure that slippery slope where you're going is. I do like the idea of it not, setbacks and everything with the pool, and but I doubt that that lot pad is 15,000 plus square feet. So that's it. I've always, when I was here, I dislike when I get off at Haskell and I see those McMansions. And when I was on this commission, we talked about the McMansions. I don't know if this is going to be a McMansion. It's going to be 2-story. I don't know about that 29 feet I heard. I don't know if that's an exception. I don't know why you would give exceptions. Views up there are very, very important. I know that the last 2 neighbors up on Park Belmonte have disputed over views when I was a member of CPHA as well, and had to go there and negotiate with both parties. I'm surprised they're not here. Maybe they didn't know. Anyway, that's it. Nice seeing everybody. And Matthew, nice. I've read your application. You seem like a good man. And eventually it will be recycled. I see Tom, nice, still here, and Michael's doing a great job. And we have a new city attorney. That's good. The city's going in, by the way, the city's really, in my opinion, since the council and you guys, it's really going in a good direction, I think. Best I've ever seen in 23 years.
Well, thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Lynn.
you.
All right.
Chair, before we move on, I do want to point out that our timer was not working. So I have it turned on now.
I was,
And
yeah.
moving forward, it is a 3-minute limit.
okay, thank you. I always hate to interrupt, but yeah, I noticed that wasn't working. David Stern.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could
Please
you-
state your name and
David Stern.
city of residence.
I live at 23945 Park Belmonte. Slide number 4. Could you put that up? The house on the left is where my wife and I live, and lived almost 4 years now. We've looked at these plans since we've had them. We are very excited for the Simpsons to build this house. We're not worried about views. We're not worried about anything to do with fires. I think what they've done is a magnificent job, and I just want to say that we support what they're doing and hope that they get finished real quick.
Well, thank you.
All right.
And Richard Simpson.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, 2 years ago, my wife and I and family arrived in California from Scotland.
I'm
and
sorry.
fell in love with
I'm
Calabasas.
sorry to interrupt you. Your name and city of
I
residence.
beg your pardon. Richard Michael
Technicality.
Simpson.
And city of residence?
533,
City.
4395 Park Belmonte.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Technicality. My apologies, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry for the introduction.
That's all right.
We arrived in California and fell in love with Calabasas. Big difference from Scotland, of course, and we love it immensely here. I have to, at this stage, commend this young gentleman, Joel, who has had the patience of a saint. Obviously, I knew nothing at all about your codes and rules and regulations and so on. And when my wife and I set about to design or plan or dream home, Joel has been extremely helpful. He ensured that we complied with all of the codes and regulations, and in fact, I'm proud to say that we have done all of that. It's a very, very old house, and the pervious and impervious areas are out of sync the way they are at the moment. And what we're proposing, of course, would be far, far more environmentally friendly with that. The design of the home, we have made sure that it is totally compatible with other homes in the area. In fact, the gentleman, David, our neighbor, who spoke kindly there, Rachel and I sat outside the property and we took a lead from their beautiful home. And one of the reasons that you see our design is because we wanted it to be compatible with others in the area. We looked at other homes nearby, and the majority of them, incidentally, are two-story homes. There are very, very few single-story homes now. The proposal is for a larger home, but it's for us, and we have 6 of a family altogether, and that's what we need. What we have done is, again, speaking to Joel and speaking to our architect, we ensured that the upper level is pushed well back. And if you look at the design of it, we intentionally did that so that from the street, from the road, it actually could look like a single-story development. The second story is only partially built. There's quite a lot of square footage that's not. So I would just beg you from the bottom of my Scottish heart to approve our application. Thank you.
Shai Jacobi.
Hi.
Hi, state your
I'm,
name and...
Mr. Simpson, neighbor to the north, I believe.
Okay.
And again, I support what they do, and we encourage you guys to build a beautiful home and be a good neighbor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, before I close the public hearing, are there any questions? Are there any questions of Mr. Simpson? No?
Bob, you got anything?
Bob? Any questions of Mr. Simpson?
I actually have a couple of comments as opposed to questions, but if I can make them that way?
If they're...
Because I might need to have them come back up and talk, and that's why
Okay.
it might be
Let's do
worthwhile
it now.
keeping the
Yeah.
public hearing open. Among the things that I've seen in the photographs of the plans and the indication primarily that the landscaping will be inclusive of additional palm trees. And I think I heard Commissioner Harrison mention something in that same vein, but it might be worth our while to look at the history of Calabasas, because we had many fights in the first 5 or 6 years about landscape design. We have, in fact, a landscape ordinance in place. It does respect the fact that folks have a very wide palette to choose from, but I think we all saw in the Palisades fire and then the Eaton fire and Woolsey fire and in the old Topanga fire, which they called the old fire, which burned down, a property right near Calabasas High School, that palm trees are dangerous in a fire environment. And if you were to have this home inspected, it might pass, but it might be a better idea to find either a non-flammable palm tree or find some alternative tree stock that might be acceptable to the folks and at the same time respectful to the history we have in our 33 or 4 years now, and that is that palm trees they're invasive, number one, and they're highly flammable, and they get kind of out of reach in many instances. If you get the right species, they go tall, and the embers catch that stuff. In fact, if you look on page, I'm looking in the packet, I think it's page, let me see if I have it. Well, page 13 for sure. And that may be proposed palm trees as opposed to existing palm trees, but there are palms on the property and you may have been interested in keeping them. But it would be, I think, wise to look at what the recommendations from our planning department and our environmental services folks, and see if that's something that we can accommodate by just making a simple switch to a different kind of species tree.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Harrison?
I have a question from, either Mr. Simpson or maybe the architect. A couple of questions.
Mr. Simpson, can you come on back up, please? Thank you.
And maybe, I'm sorry, but maybe your architect or your can help with this. But I noticed that the garage in the front, it's a two-car garage, and then the third one closer to the front door on that side is a storage unit. And the question I have is, to me, it's a little unusual to build a 7,000 square foot house with a two-car garage. And most people would like a three-car garage, even if they put storage in there. So, and you make it look like a garage, so why can't you just move those stairs or get rid of the stairs in the back that are preventing it from being a garage? Why can't it just be a garage?
We have a little boy and girl. We have twin children, and they wanted that as their play area. But if the recommendation is that we remove those stairs and turn it into a garage, then fine. Also, regarding the palm trees, if the palm trees are offensive and dangerous in any way, of course, we would take that on board and we would plant other trees.
Are there existing palm trees on the site, or those are
not
proposed to be added?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
All right, so, I just think for the purpose of your house, you can make it a garage and keep it as storage or a play area, but to have a garage door anyway, I think you've answered.
I think we have a comment here.
Just for clarity's sake, on the plans, they have a tag there that says it's storage, but it is a functioning garage door and it is a functioning garage space, and it meets our requirements. Our requirements say that it has to have at least a 20-foot depth to be considered a garage space,
Yes.
and that has 20 feet in depth, even with the stairs.
Even with the stairs behind
Yes.
it? Okay, so
So
then the question is it included in the square footage of the home? I don't know how all that works.
No, the 6,900 and change square feet does not include the garage area, which is specified as here as 2 cars plus the storage.
But then, how could the garage only be 477 feet, a 3-car garage?
They may not be factoring in all of that storage space or maybe the stairs.
Yeah, something isn't right. A 3-car garage is,
But it-
what,
it-
600 square feet at least?
Around 600 square feet.
So something doesn't make sense. Either the storage is included in the house space or not, or,
No, the storage is not included in that.
So then I think this needs to be fixed.
And that can, but
It's not
again, just to
nothing, it's
clarify-
either garage or it's house, it's not just
Yeah,
nothing.
it is a garage space, and it
Well,
can function as garage.
No, that part is good. You've answered that question, but then the numbers aren't right, because,
My understanding was that it is inclusive, Joel. Could you confirm that?
I think the 477 square feet is that, the two-car garage.
correct. And so the
Yeah.
third car garage or storage is, but Michael, the planning director just said it's not included in the square footage of the house, so where is it?
So the 6,910, and I think this is a clarification, 6,910 is the home and that storage. The 477 should be
Okay.
that two-car garage.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted,
Yeah.
that was one of my questions, actually.
But certainly, if you would prefer it to be shown as a three-car garage, then we can do that.
As long as it's usable as a garage, and this is just my feeling, I think most people wouldn't build a 7,000 square foot house with a two-car garage. It doesn't matter if you use it, all three garages for storage or a play area, but,
Yeah.
And it
sounds
looks like a
that they-
garage,
They are
'cause-
functionally, it sounds
Yeah.
like they can, all three function as
Okay.
garage space.
yeah, and that's good, because it has the same garage door, so I just, okay. On slide 12, which is page A0.3, it shows the pool quite close to the back of the house, but so this rendition, I think is a little, on the right here, the west elevation, the pool is on the plans about 7 feet 11 inches from the house, which to me is a little short, but the back part is 6 feet from the fence, and yet that looks on that rendition like it's 10 or 15 or 20 feet from the fence. So is it just exaggerated, that rendition? I mean, that's just not accurate? The gap between the pool and the property line doesn't appear to me even to be close to accurate.
Commissioner Harrison, I think that's just a rendering rendition, and so it may not accurately reflect
Right.
exactly that amount of feet.
Okay, so I think you're right, it doesn't, it's not even a may, it just
When the
doesn't.
designer put it together, it might just be a rendering, just to show what it would look
Right.
like. Just like as the pool, for example, appears closer than the 7 feet, as you mentioned, in this image, for example.
Right, so this is just a rendering that's a little exaggerated. But I'll talk about that later when we get to comments. And then also on slide 5, you'll see the front column that kind of bothered me. But I couldn't tell from the plans whether you're removing this or not. You see the column on the left of the gate where you enter? I mean, it's got to be 10 or 15 feet tall with that ball thing on top. Is that going to remain, or is that coming out?
I'm not really hearing you properly there.
Oh,
Is
look
it
at
the
slide-
part on the left?
No, look, well, you can see it a little bit on the left, but if you look on the right half of that slide, you can see it better. It's a although you can't really tell without a person standing there, but it's at least twice a human's height. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
If I
like
recall,
almost
we are
15 feet
proposing
high.
to leave the part at the front edge, just landscape it and put new planting and what have you.
The column, that's what I wanted to know.
Commissioner Harrison, if I may please
There-
interject.
Right,
On
because the plans didn't really say.
On the existing demo and site plan, that's sheet A1, those columns are proposed to be removed.
Okay. Okay, I couldn't tell, because I see that, okay. That's it. That's it for questions. Comments are later.
All right. Commissioner Steiner, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Simpson.
No? Okay. Thank you.
All right, don't close the public hearing.
All right. Commissioner Washburn.
Well, I find the page reference that I was looking for. It's on page 5 and on page 12 and on page 13. I'm not sure what will remain in the remanufacturing of the site or what is proposed in some of the renderings. If you look at page 5 and the slide, maybe put that up on the screen, there's actually a palm tree in the very front yard between the parkway and the fencing of the property. There's a lovely toyon tree, or a hollyberry tree there, right next to the palm, but the palm has literally an invitation is, please light me on fire. So that troubles me, and that may already be determined that it will disappear in the manufacturing of the house. But on the left side, behind the big pillar with the address on it, there's also a very sizable palm tree that does affect the view of the neighboring property, but we don't have any ordinances that regulate viewpoint or view shed. But because it's right next to open space, that in fact may have been part of the Woolsey fire threat that we were facing, it's just a good time to say, let's not have any palm trees. But maybe it's best just to say instead that the condition that is necessary, for the Director of Planning and Development to, abide by before approving the project entirely, we just build a condition here to say that it will be, appropriate to put in the appropriate fire escape sensitive requirements for the landscape approval. Help me with that, Tom, just a little bit, because I think that's something that is probably going to happen if we approve this project. There will be a condition on the kind of landscaping, and it has to conform to the city's landscape ordinance. And I'm not sure whether, with recent experience, frankly, that our landscape ordinance is fully aware of all the threats that we face. So if that's something that we can craft as a condition, that solves the problem for me tonight. But it would be wise, I think, to think about that, because it educates the whole street of Park Belmonte, and it educates the whole city as to what we need to do from this point forward in dealing with our landscape management.
Yeah, and a couple points to clarify. I'm actually looking at the grading plans that were submitted with the project. It points out those two palm trees that you just mentioned, the one that's at the front property line and the one that you can see to the south of the property, both of those are identified as to be removed.
That helps.
So that'll help.
But
And
then you're
moving
on
forward-
page 12 and 13, what it may just be renderings, and if it's a question just of changing the renderings to a less fire-prone tree
Yeah. And
species, that would be a good thing to include in our ultimate discussions with the folks if this project is approved.
And moving forward, if it's approved and it moves into the building and safety phase, it will go through the fire department, and they are going to enforce defensible space requirements and fuel modifications. So the fire department will look at that, and they'll look at the plans that are being proposed. And if they install something out there that doesn't meet their requirements, they'll also make them remove it.
I can also elaborate on that. Your Exhibit D, which are your recommended conditions of approval, condition number 15, we specifically have in there for them to submit a final landscape plan, and that landscape plan shall conform with the requirements of Chapter 17.26, which is our ordinance, state and well requirements, which work to water efficiency, and LA County Fire Department fuel modification requirements, and shall emphasize the use of native and/or drought-tolerant, non-invasive plant species and utilize water-efficient irrigation. So I think we've covered the gamut on landscaping.
Not really,
I'm
but
making
we'll
a
talk
big
about
deal out of it because, we're still planting palm trees in Calabasas, and there are still seeds being distributed by all the wildlife that we have, birds and otherwise. And the fire department doesn't have the same sense about our design as well as our safety as we have. And I don't know if there's actually a comprehensive, fire escape management ordinance yet. We're working on things like that. We have a lot of people paying a lot of attention, and it's not the burden on this property owner. That's why I think that it's really just looking at how we can be informative as a commission and as a staff to the people who bring us their beautiful ideas, but they may not be fully informed on the experience and what the expectation is in building in our town.
All right. Thank you for bringing that to the forefront. All right.
If Mr. Simpson needs to reply, that's okay, but I think it's going to be handled administratively as the
Yeah.
project goes forward, right? Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And not picking on you, making you first tonight for everything, but do you have any questions or comments, Commissioner Lozana?
So, first of all, it's a beautiful home. Well done on the design. Granted, yes, bigger than the neighbors, but this tends to be the direction things are heading. In regards to the garage, it sounds like that's been cleared up. Thank you. Vice Chair, I have big shoes to fill. Truly, thank you for that. Palm trees, yes. Having gone through what we just went through, I think it's important just to be cognizant of what these represent. I love palm trees. I think they're beautiful. It's been scary times. It's just a sensitive time with fires. The only difference that stands out to me, and this is just an aesthetic, personal preference, and I definitely see why it's appealing, but just the garage doors just seem a little bit bigger. But again, now that I've been around and I see that this is just the trend that these homes are going in, and I really think that this home could be one of the trendsetters, just like the Stearns home is. So, you know, again, it's a wonderful design. I think it fits in, and I commend the architect and the designers.
Thank you. Commissioner Leah, any questions or comments?
Just a comment. Just a comment. The proposed house is 67% larger than the average of the houses there. So I have a question whether it makes that finding.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Washburn.
I think I've talked enough.
Okay. And I'll just keep it simple. I agree with the comments of Commissioner Lozana. I think that it is a well-designed home. Granted, it is larger than any other home in at least the immediate vicinity. But from what I can see, it meets our development standards. And at the end of the day, we are tasked with approving projects that meet our development standards. I would ask Mr. Simpson that you do hear the comments that have been made by the commissioners with regard to the palm trees and fire concerns. That may be taken care of during the rest of your process with building and safety and the fire department and so on. But be cognizant. But I think it's a nice project. Commissioner Harrison.
Yeah, thank you. There are a couple of issues here for me. I'm not comfortable making finding number 4 regarding the scale with the surrounding properties. I think the design is definitely good, but the scale concerns me because it's so much larger than anything in the neighborhood. I don't see how we can make that finding, but regarding the landscaping, I would actually like to see a landscaping plan. When I was on the tree board, we used to see the landscaping plans. And the reason why is the palm trees. There was an article in the LA Times on February 1st, and there's one today. You could read it, Steve Lopez, a whole article on palm trees, how they behaved in the Palisades and in the Eden Canyon fire. They turn into firecrackers. They shoot out embers, strong embers. And this is probably the most dangerous thing you could possibly plant. So I think the fire district standards are not up to par, and our code is certainly not up to par on this. We're just way behind. It's very clear that palm trees shouldn't be allowed to be planted for fire purposes, especially on the top of a ridge like that. I mean, it's dangerous. They even point out which trees could be planted, even deodar cedars and sycamores and oaks and camphor trees, just anything that doesn't explode like palm trees. My biggest concern, though, is the drainage on the west side because my HOA owns part of that slope below you. I think there's a reason why this house had a pool inside. It has an indoor pool right now, and it's not at the back of the back lot. And remember, that's fill in the back. It's not, these lots were graded, and that's fill in the back. It wasn't, it's made to be flat. It's not the strongest thing, and to stick a pool there that's gonna weigh tens of thousands of pounds, and with the retaining wall, which is, forget the existing retaining wall, even if you put a new retaining wall, I don't think it's gonna necessarily hold it, and that's why I wanted that condition, that if there's any slippage, you or your subsequent owners would be liable. I mean, maybe you're willing to do that, but otherwise I'm opposed to the pool. I think it's a danger to the neighboring parcels, all of them. In Los Angeles, they have a better building code than we do. So in Los Angeles, when you have a slope at the back of the property, they take the height of the slope and they divide it by 6, and that's the setback that's required in Los Angeles. And here you have a slope. I measured it. I looked at a topo map. It's 100 meters from the top of your slope. That's why you have such a great view, all the way down to Parkway Calabasas. So that's over 300 feet. And if you divide that by 6, the setback should be 50 feet. And this here, you're having a setback of 6 feet, which is completely inadequate. This pool, to me, poses a danger to the neighborhood. So I can't approve the pool part of it. And I don't approve I don't trust, somebody just glancing at landscaping plans. I think we should look at them. And those are my feelings anyway. I can't support it in its present iteration. I'm not comfortable with finding number 4 because it's massively larger than the other homes. I'm not comfortable with not having landscape plans and you're proposing palms. And I'm not comfortable with a pool at the back, 6 feet from the back. That's going to put a lot of pressure on that slope and fail, or possibly fail like other homes on that street. It's not even imaginary. It's happened to a couple of other homes on that same side. Anyway, that's it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Steiner, do you have any comments?
I think that everybody brought up some very valid points, especially ones having to do with fire related to safety in that respect.
Candace, would you bring the microphone close to you so we can hear?
Oh, it wasn't
Sorry.
on. It just wasn't.
What I was saying is that everybody had very valid points, especially in respect to the fire concerns that we all have in Calabasas. I do think it's a very beautiful home, and given that they have so many neighbors supporting them, it seems that it would be really, really add value to the community. So that's just my thoughts.
All right, thank you. Before I call for a motion, I do have a question. Joel, am I correct that that the footprint of the building, I know it's being demolished, but the footprint of the existing building, of the existing home, would not be increased? Is that accurate? Well, yeah. That the add is the second story, not an increase in the footprint of the building. Is that accurate? Can you fill out a speaker card real quickly, please? And
There's no page.
you need to fill out a speaker card, please. Oh, you have one? Yeah. Just.
Well, He's looking for his card. I just want to point out that on the conceptual grading and drainage plan set, you've got C2, the second page of it, which is page C2 of the 4 pages, shows the footprint for the existing. And you can compare that to the following page, which shows the footprint of the proposed, and you'll be able to see that they basically
Substantially
align
the same.
almost exactly.
Yeah, there's no overlay, so it's, but what I'm getting at is it's substantial. All right, I'm going to reopen the public hearing. Give me 1 second. Can you state your name and city of residence, please?
Yeah, good evening, Chair. My name is Dustin Woomer. I work with Diamond West. We're the civil engineers, and I reside in City Thousand Oaks. Our office is in City Calabasas. The footprint is substantially the same. That third car garage does pop out, but that's the only kind of primary difference. If you don't mind, the H/6 is complied with that Commissioner Harrison was mentioning, and it's shown on the grading plan. The H/6 has a maximum of 20 feet. So regardless, once you get over a 20-foot setback, that's the maximum. And we show a cross-section on our grading plan that shows compliance. But that's a building code requirement that's also a requirement within the city of Calabasas as well as the city of Los Angeles. So I just wanted to kind of get that on the record as well.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to close the public hearing and just make the additional comment that in terms of the size of the proposed home, the fact that it essentially stacks with the existing footprint really serves to counter any concerns that I might have in terms of the size of the proposed home. So I'm for it.
Can we ask if they would be willing not to plant palms, and if they'd be willing to indemnify anybody if the if the property slips in the back?
Well, in terms of the palms, we can ask
I mean,
Mr. Simpson. He already, Mr. Simpson indicated that he would be willing
But, I
to
mean,
comply.
Right.
I have concerns about the indemnification issue because there are legal issues that we're not prepared to deal with here tonight in terms of requiring a homeowner to indemnify other
But we could
indemnifying the city is already,
Right,
it's
that's
in
already
there.
But can
But
we ask if he would do either one of those things? I mean,
we
if
can
he's
ask
willing.
if he's, well, if he's willing to do if he's willing to do
No
to not,
palms.
not plant palms, yeah, no problem. I do have concerns about the other.
But if he's willing to do that, then why not ask anyway? It doesn't
Any
cost
any
anything.
thoughts?
With regard to the palms, if the applicant voluntarily agrees to a condition of no palms, then that certainly can be made a condition. And assuming they don't ultimately file a legal challenge, that will be binding upon them. As to the indemnification provision, the concern I have for this evening is you can say in general they will indemnify people, but it's all in the language of what the indemnification says. We don't have language before us.
But
We
that
haven't
would
considered it.
come back in a future, when we get the resolution. So I'm just wondering if they would even entertain the idea of doing that. So
And the
I
other-
haven't gotten an answer, so.
And the other thing to keep in mind is if the pool fails, they will have liability to neighboring property owners for the damage caused by a pool failure. So
The problem is the history shows that Calabasas comes after the neighbors too. So that's the problem. If it was just what you're saying, I wouldn't have a problem. But the city has come back after the neighbors for slippage, and the neighbors didn't do anything.
no, I understand the concern.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm just wondering if they're willing, if they would come up and be willing to agree to no palms. and if they would be willing to agree to some kind of indemnification to be, that, and if not, I mean, I just want to know.
But agreeing to not plant palms is very clear.
Yes.
It's easy to word a condition that is clear as a bell. In terms of indemnification, who are they indemnifying?
The neighboring
What
property.
exactly are they indemnifying for?
Property
that-
slippage at the back, any slippage,
I,
any slope failure.
I'm concerned that we're looking at something that is prospective, unknown, with unknown parties, and not really susceptible to clear enough wording to be a condition to approval.
I think it's pretty clear. You just say, I agree to indemnify and hold harmless the neighboring parcels, and you can just list them. There are only 2 on each side and 2 below. That's it. And,
Well-
and for any, slippage, and but I don't even know if they're even willing to. So I just wanted to hear whether they're even willing to.
Okay. Tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to ask for a motion, and I'm going to ask that the motion either include or not include these 2 items. We'll see if we get a motion, we'll see if we get a second, and then depending on what that motion is, we'll go from there.
Well, I'll move that we direct staff to bring back a resolution approving the project, but addressing the key issues here of the landscape management issues, and also the location of the pool and the drainage facilities to ensure that the property is going to be safe regarding its neighbors. Now, I'm not specifying how that should be. I'm just saying that you guys know how to deal with all that. If we ask you to bring back a resolution of approval with consideration of that, or at least language that we can then decide on at the next meeting, that we consider approving the recommendation for approval, I think we've solved the problem.
Is that something, the palm trees, that's easy.
Palm trees are
The
easy.
rest, is this,
It is a
do
little
you
bit.
agree
it's-
that this is something that you can do, or is it something you cannot do?
I do have concerns. It is, number one, it is vague. It is basing an assumption on something that is highly hypothetical. And I am concerned that there's a nexus issue with this. This is not any different than almost any other property that has been developed. We do have building code requirements. They are the California building code requirements. They do look at slopes, they look at soils. They will have to do a soils test and analysis and submit all of that to our building and safety department. And frankly, if they can't make it work out engineering-wise, they won't be able to build it. So we do have a stopgap. The planning department is looking at our zoning code requirements. The zoning code requirements does not talk about slopes as it relates to a pool. So that's where I'm a little bit concerned about the nexus on that. We can make a nexus with the landscaping, with the palm trees, because our code does require native and non-invasive landscaping, and so we can clarify that in the conditions.
So
Thank you.
yeah.
So it sounds like with regard to the slope issue, the pool issue, the indemnification issue, that we could be overstepping our mandate here.
They're showing a pool in a location that conforms to the zoning ordinance.
I was
So
just
from a-
asking if
from a
they're willing
zoning-
to indemnify, put their money where their mouth is, basically. And Michael, a couple of homes have failed on that street, have had backyards fail. This isn't hypothetical. This could easily happen with a heavy pool, 6 feet from the property line. And no, and it isn't 20 feet back from the property line, it's 6 feet back from the property line. I'm not even sure why somebody would want a pool 7 feet from their house, to tell you the truth. That looks pretty dangerous to me. I hope there's a big fence around it, but that's another issue.
Well,
Anyway,
and-
I like
and that's
Dennis's,
what-
Dennis's suggestion to have all of this looked into, and I don't think our landscaping code at all addresses the palm trees.
Well,
That's
the
just-
palm trees.
because if they're willing to
let's-
not,
Let's set that aside.
Right.
Because I heard Mr. Simpson's,
he's,
and
sounds
I'm
like he's willing.
planning on, if
Right.
that's part of the motion, I will reopen the public hearing and bring Mr. Simpson up to answer to whether he will agree to that. I have serious concerns about the rest of it. I think that we are overstepping where we need to be.
I haven't heard a second yet, so I don't know whether I can say that, we can actually move forward. So if there's a second, at least I'd like to discuss the motion a little bit more after we get a second.
I have a question first for our city attorney. Michael said he doesn't think there could be a nexus to the pool. I would like the city attorney's opinion whether there is or is not a nexus. It's too big an issue to live up in the air.
Well, this is a unique request, is to request for this type of indemnification. So as I indicated to Commissioner Harrison earlier, I would have to research the issue as to whether or not we could make a nexus and rough proportionality requirement that would require them to indemnify third parties for some sort of injury that may occur in the future based upon some sort of failure. I have concerns similar to what Director Klein stated, due to the fact that these pools are subject to the building code and other engineering requirements, and they will ultimately be responsible for any damage that occurs should there be a failure. But I would have to do more research to see if there would be a legal basis for allowing for the city to condition this project with an indemnification requirement. As I stated before, if the applicant voluntarily agreed to that and did not subsequently challenge it, that would be a binding condition on the project.
Thank you.
Perhaps I suggest and submit that perhaps we delay until the city attorney has a chance to research it.
Well, that is one possibility. Commissioner Azena.
So I had a thought, just to trail off the city attorney. I'm going to put my attorney's cap on and just pause it, wonder if an indemnification clause is redundant in the sense that you would still have to litigate. Whereas, on the other hand, if somebody was negligent, if the pool wasn't built up to code, for whatever reason, you would have to litigate that. Regardless, you're showing up to court in the worst case scenario. So I do see the concern, I agree. But I'm not sure if indemnifying neighbors is a solution to the extent that we would want it to be, if that makes sense. Either way, we're going to court.
And I'm concerned about the door it might be opening. I mean, this is just something that we don't do.
Is somebody going to second my motion so I can talk?
I mean, I kind of like what Dennis said.
I'm sorry?
I kind of like what you said, because basically you said, come back with information concerning this, or
Well,
way around all of this.
I'll use my language if someone will second the motion.
Can you
I'm trying to
repeat
avoid
the
a
motion?
lawsuit is the problem.
I'm sorry.
You know,
Can you
it's-
Restate it? Okay.
restate the
I
motion,
move
please?
that we recommend or direct staff to bring back a resolution of approval for this project. And clarify and help us understand when you return with that ordinance, or not that ordinance, that resolution, that you've answered the questions that we've asked. That doesn't mean we have to have you work up the language to satisfy Commissioner Harrison or Commissioner Washburn or Commissioner Hussaini or anybody else. It's moving this project forward because it deserves to move forward, in my opinion. That's not part of the motion. I'm just discussing it now. I think I have a second, right?
I haven't heard a second. Is there a second?
Nobody wants to second this motion?
I would be willing to second the motion if it addresses the trees. If
Well,
it addresses
we're-
but not if it
But if you
includes
second the motion,
additional.
then we can discuss it and determine whether we want to vote for or against my motion. Give me a second, come on.
Well, if the motion dies for lack of a second, you can
Say it
invite a
again,
different
Tom,
motion.
what?
If the motion dies for lack of a second, you can invite a new motion.
I understand. But I don't know that, I don't understand the resistance to the motion, which is to direct you to bring back a resolution that is for approval of this project with the consideration of the issues, the three primary issues that we've raised.
And what do you see, what are those issues?
Landscaping,
Well, we can deal with the landscaping.
and here, my
Before
other
we
comment
vote
is
on
that
the motion.
Mr. Simpson and the whole team of folks who are proposing this project, they've heard everything we've said. They know how to fix it. And all they need is good advice from our staff, and they'll get that, and from our legal counsel as well, and they'll get that as well, so that they can bring back a project that we've recommended a resolution of approval for, but considering the importance of dealing with the issues that we've raised. That's all. We get a second.
My concern is that
We and they get
getting
a second
into-
bite at the apple.
Well, my concern is that, again, the palm trees aside, that we are getting into issues. I mean, the plans as they stand are compliant with our code. And we have a process, once the project is approved, we have a process that the applicant has to go through in order to move forward with the project, which includes complying with the city requirements with regard to engineering of the pool. That's already in, these are things that are already in place. It's the indemnification issue that I have a big problem with.
And I think we all do, but it's been raised, and the issue is there a way to dodge the bullet and bring back a resolution of approval dealing with the trees and the pool? End of story.
Well, if I may, maybe my recommendation would be, because this has to come back to the planning commission anyways, a resolution's not in front of the commission tonight.
Right.
So you could still direct staff to prepare a resolution for approval. We will certainly address the palm trees, because that's one that we believe we can make a nexus for and specify that palm trees will not be allowed. We will continue to discuss this with the city attorney with regards to the indemnification. And either the resolution that returns will have that indemnification if the city attorney believes that there is a strong enough, or a decent enough nexus and rough proportionality. If the city attorney has concerns, then we'll let the commission know that the resolution does not include that for that reason.
Well, in the
Alternatively, if the
meantime, though,
applicant
if I can add-
voluntarily accepts it, then it'll be added to the resolution as well.
It could be that Mr. Simpson and his team are going to say, wow, I get it, let's do this instead.
Correct, yes. They could make a design change to
Because we're
address this.
almost there, except for the challenging issue of our looking to cover our tail with indemnification. It's all worthy, but it may not be necessary. You bring back the resolution with the idea of moving this project forward after talking with attorney, staff, and client, our customer, essentially, and away we go.
All right.
What's wrong with that? I mean, tell me I'm missing something here.
Do you understand the motion as proposed?
I feel like we have to ask you, Madam Chair, and your fellow commissioners, if you understand the motion, because one of you has to second
Well,
it.
they're not going to vote for it if they
Well-
don't.
All right. As I understand it, the motion involves staff going back and getting some answers from the city attorney and coming back with a proposed resolution that either does or does not include an indemnification provision. Is
Thank
that,
you.
is
That's
that
right,
correct?
right on the money.
Okay. Then here, I'm going to
And
second.
we've raised the issue for the people of Calabasas and Mr. Simpson so that he understands and we understand that this is difficult business we're dealing with when we're dealing with a project as complex in a place like this. And with things that have happened to all of us in, the past 7 years, really, from COVID to, to fire escapes and floods now, ruining our coast. So let's get to the process of helping people get their jobs done, including the folks who want to invest a lot of money in making a nice house for themselves on Park Belmonte.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and second the motion.
Thank you.
Before we get to any further discussion, can I reopen the public hearing with a motion on the floor?
Why not?
That's an interesting, I don't see any reason why not.
I think you can reopen at any time during the discussion.
Great, I'm going to reopen the public hearing. Mr. Simpson, can you come up for a moment, please? We're going to take care of one of these question marks right now. Mr. Simpson, are you willing to agree that there will be no palm trees
Absolutely.
included in this
Categorically.
project? Okay, thank you very much.
And so we could add a
And-
condition to that effect?
That's the idea.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Wait.
We
could
can
you
have
say that?
the drawing amended, and I can go and visit Joel in the office and
Yep.
resubmit a drawing showing no
We
palm
just,
trees.
we just need to know that you are willing to agree.
Wait,
Thank you.
Wait,
I'm-
Mr. oh, can you-
I'm going to close the public hearing because we are not going to complicate this further.
all right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm still concerned that the city has been trying to get money from the HOAs to fix the failed slopes of the other homes on Park Belmonte in the back of their homes, and that doesn't seem consistent. It's like wrong. It's like,
Well,
it
but
doesn't make
that's
sense
a,
to me. And so
that's,
I think our city attorney is not aware of it because those
But-
started before you were here.
Commissioner
Michael, that's not
Harrison,
the
but
applicant's burden, that's our burden.
But that's why I'm bringing this up, because.
We understand
yeah.
why you're bringing it up and understand your concern. And in response to that concern, part of this motion is that staff and the city attorney are going to go back, and when they come back with a resolution for approval, it will include a condition prohibiting palm trees being planted, and will either include or will not include some kind of indemnification provision based upon the city attorney's findings and
Right.
whether we can even do that or not.
All right, but I hope the city then becomes consistent instead of being inconsistent.
That's a
and-
whole
and
other-
doesn't
That's a
go
whole
after
other.
the neighboring properties in some failed slopes and not in others. That doesn't.
But that is well beyond our purview tonight.
Okay.
But that's also why we have the indemnity for the city in this, so that the city does not have to be involved
Right.
if there is a failure.
But the city is involved in the other couple failures, and
That's,
that's
those may be
why I
separate
brought this
issues,
up.
but what I'm pointing out though is that because this project, if approved, would already indemnify the city, there's no reason for the city to go after either property owners because we
But they
would not
did-
be involved.
Oh, but they did go after the property owners.
I
I
don't
mean,
know
the-
the circumstances of any of those,
All
so
right.
I don't
We're-
want to
okay,
conflate those.
guys,
That's a job
we're
for the
getting-
city council,
Yeah,
Michael.
we're getting far afield of what, our purview tonight, so.
Okay. It's just an issue anyway.
Let's vote.
Got it. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying
would-
aye.
Let's
I would
do a roll
recommend a
call.
roll call.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right.
Aye.
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 No.
All right. The motion passes 3-2. So, Mr. Simpson, this is going to go back to staff and the city attorney, and they will come back at our next meeting with a resolution for approval that contains a condition that there will be no palm trees planted on the site. And depending on what the city attorney finds in terms of the indemnification provision, there may or may not be an indemnification provision contained in that resolution. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Moving on. We are on to the director's report.
Thank you. Before I go on to what's on the agenda for the next couple of meetings, I do want to point out that our Mayor's Youth Council liaisons, they have completed their terms with the Mayor's Youth Council, so they're no longer going to join us here at the Planning Commission, but they did both express their gratitude for being a part of this, and they certainly learned a lot. Moving forward, what we're looking at is in the next couple meetings. On February 20th, we will have a regular agendized meeting. On that agenda, we have a conditional use permit for a vet clinic at the Las Verdenas Shopping Center. The commission recently looked at a couple other projects there, including Shibuya Sushi. Moving forward on March 6th, actually going back to February 20th, sorry about that, the commission also has to select a appointee to the Arts and Public Places Committee. So we'll put that on the agenda. Commissioner Washburn has been our appointee for the past several years, but it is time now for the commission to reappoint either the same or a new member of that. And there are a couple projects moving forward that will be required to have art, so this is actually a good time to be on that committee. And then looking at March 6th, we are planning on bringing back forward the LEED building ordinance, or the green building ordinance under the development code. The commission talked about this a couple months ago, and that should be ready to move forward for a public hearing on March 6th, as well as tentatively another new single-family home in the Old Topanga area. And with that, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Reports from members of the Planning Commission. Commissioner Hussein? No? Commissioner Leah? Commissioner Washburn?
I just want to make sure that we do, in fact, I will move that we adjourn our meeting tonight in honor and memory of Marvin Lapata. And but I mean, that's the simple request, but there was a wonderful video of Marvin's contributions to the city that was produced by the city. And Councilmember, actually Mayor Pro Tem Bazajan was responsible to encourage our staff to put a really nice message together. And in the process also, we learned that Marvin's son, Aaron Rose, produced a 10-minute movie called Marvin's Gardens. And it's, you know, it's right in line with the kind of environmental discussion we've had this evening about what are the appropriate plants and trees to put around. But the movie was really insightful, and I'd like to see that the city at least posts the memorial message that the city produced, but I would recommend they also get the media department to share that really lovely movie about Marvin's contributions to Calabasas over all these years. And, you know, they didn't end with his contributions to the city council and the work of the city, but he's a real estate appraiser, and he was responsible for appraising properties that have been acquired for the benefit of the city of Calabasas and the whole region of the Santa Monica Mountains over the past 25 years since he left office in the first place. So, you know, you don't get those stories unless you actually pay attention, and it's, I think, a good thing to do. So I hope we adjourn in his memory and post those movies. They're good.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Harrison?
We had to have played Monopoly to know what you were talking about. Yes. But thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
That's very nice. No, I don't know. No.
Okay, Commissioner Steiner? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'll second Dennis's motion.
Okay. Hearing no objection, this meeting is adjourned in honor of and in memory of Marvin Lapata.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.